For those who haven't heard yet, today we lost a legend, a true hero in the sport, and a main character in a lot of our NASCAR lives and memories. Um, Today we lost Kyle Busch. So Switchin Grooves would like to pay their respects and pay tribute to Kyle Busch, and just kind of show our raw emotions for what's all going on and share our memories that we have. I'm Nathan Johns, and we thank you for joining us for this special episode of Switching Grooves. Um, I know this is not where we want to be, Russ, right now. I'm sure we want to be anywhere but behind the screen, but I want to make sure I paid my respects to Kyle. We had a run incident with, well, not Wednesday an incident. We had an interaction with him a few years ago at Pittsburgh. Ashley got to meet her first NASCAR driver in person at World of Wheels. I think it was like 2022, shortly after we went to Martinsville for the first time. I still have the picture. I think I still have Kyle's jacket somewhere that we use as a race fire suit somewhere. So it's definitely hard, and I'm still kind of in shock. I really don't even know how to respond to what we're seeing on the news. I know that there was reports at Watkins Glen that there was some sort of radio call that they needed EMS at his camper. Um, we believe, from what I've read from the news reports from that weekend, that it had something to do with a sinus issue from the G forces. I cannot confirm or deny that's actually what happened. That's just what I've read so far. But I would think it has something to do with that. I read something about respiratory issues in a news article from that weekend. But I'm I'm personally still kind of in disbelief, still in shock. I think the only positive that has come out of this entire situation is knowing that he went out basically racing all the way to the end. He won at Dover this past weekend, and even though he really didn't have a good showing in the All Star race, I think that's the best way he could have celebrated that last weekend was winning at the Truck Series and the series that he just absolutely dominated. And I I don't know if there's anybody really religious that's on this page, but if there are anybody who is, if you could please pray for, Samantha, Brexton, Lennix, obviously Kurt, RCR, and the entire Busch family and all the fans. I can't say that I was a massive fan of Kyle Busch, but he still was a role model of a legend in the sport, a father, a son, a brother, you know, countless memories and highlights from his NASCAR career. It just it just doesn't seem real yet.
Definitely not a episode I thought I was going to have to do anytime soon, and was really hoping not to do one ever for an active driver, but
Yeah.
I still trying to process, the news. Like, it's not something you ever think you're going to have to announce. I mean, the last time this has happened with an active driver was Dale Earnhardt, so criminy, I remember Kyle Busch's, first race. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I was around for that, and I'll tell you, I mean, I'm holding up emotionally. I'm pretty good at that, but I've been through a lot. So, but
The
like
difficulty to get through that opening monologue from me. I don't know if anybody can see the tears, but I'm definitely trying to hold them back right now. This is not an episode that I really want to do, just because I'm not prepared for this, but I know that it needs done. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Russ. I'm sorry.
it's just one of those things. I mean, not a huge fan of Kyle Busch, on the racetrack, but I didn't hate the guy. I was a huge
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick fan. I mean, Kyle had his own way,
Kevin
and
even put out a statement, which is, it just shows the connection. Even though they couldn't stand each other on track, you could see that
you
it definitely meant something.
but you may not be able, you may be rivals and
Yeah.
bitter rivals at that, but there's still a mutual respect for each other
Yes.
as sportsmen in the differences between you and your styles, and you know, we really don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about him. I mean, some of his antics, and were a lot different than the way I would have done things. But I mean, everybody does things their own way. But what I will say is NASCAR needed somebody like Kyle Busch. Kyle was one of the few old school, if you want to call it style, guys to keep things alive and going that way. And he was one of those guys too that you could look at him either way. He wasn't one way or the other. You either looked at him as a villain or you looked at him as a hero. Whereas, you know, back in the day, you had heroes or villains, and it was hard to find one of those that could be toggling that line. And Kyle was one of those. I mean, that's just my opinion of the guy. Um,
Just before we go too far, I do want to display this comment. It just shows kind of the impact that, you know, even though he was a NASCAR driver, the people, I don't know how to read the name. I think it's the Ace Stealer. Thank you for showing that. That just shows how much of an impact, you know, NASCAR drivers have, even from across giant bodies of water. I would have never thought during this episode I would have seen a comment like that. So thank you for sharing that one. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That is probably the coolest comment I've ever seen. I would have never thought anybody from Australia watched this episode or watched these. So that is kind of astonishing to me that we have somebody from Australia who watches this. Not the exactly circumstances we thought we'd see it under, but that's actually kind of cool for me. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked.
just to get, Kevin Jaycox just commented exactly where I was heading with what I was saying. That you know he was good for the sport, whether you liked him or hated him. He was great for the sport, and he was whether you liked him or not, he was actually one of the best racing dads out there. I mean, the way that he was raising his son and his kids and teaching them the ins and outs of the sport and all aspects of it were incredible. I mean, I don't think you were going to find a better racing dad out there. I mean, even as much as a fan of Kevin Harvick as I was,
Or even
I'm going to tell you
Larson.
what. I mean, Kyle was doing it right, but also Kyle was doing it longer than those two as well. I mean,
Yeah,
so well, I wouldn't say longer.
because I think
Ke-
I
Keelan,
think
Keelan,
Keelan
Keelan's
is
older, but
older. Yeah,
but also like Kevin's kid's not really racing the dirt and stuff like that. So
Excuse me, sorry.
Brexton is getting all aspects of the sport from every side, and that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest things that makes Kyle Busch such a legend. I mean, we absolutely lost a legend way too soon when we shouldn't have. And it's very unfortunate. And I really, really, really just pray and continue to hope that his wife and kids, especially, along with the rest of the family, whether it be, you know, blood family, racing family, or team RCR family, that they can find peace and just be able to move forward and continue his legacy through his children and the organizations, especially with the work that him and his wife did with the what was it, IVF stuff for women and fertilization and stuff like that. Incredible, incredible stuff that you don't really hear about when it comes to his wife and him and their organization. I mean, they did just as good at things for people as Greg Biffle did, and that's just I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm just still so shocked. I mean, even though it's been hours since we've heard, you just don't know how to process it, and
I remember
we
sending you the
lose.
article this morning about him being in the hospital, and it was what before. Well, I think I was at work when I sent you that message. I was on my break, and I remember, seeing that message, sending it to you, thinking, "Holy cow, he's going to miss the Coke 600." And I, no more got off work and was getting home, and my wife called me and go, "Hey, did you see Kyle Busch? He's gone." And it didn't quite register at first, and then I had, one of my friends texted me, something similar, and I said, "No, that can't be true. It has to be, they've seen two fake articles, the same article." And I went and looked it up on Facebook, and there wasn't really anything yet. And then I, Googled it, and there wasn't anything. And then I saw the official statement from NASCAR, and that's when it, started to sink in. And within a minute, it seemed like a matter of minutes, all of a sudden my Facebook went from seeing that one NASCAR post to every single post for like 10 minutes of scrolling was people reacting to his passing. I don't know
Well,
what was more chilling, hearing it at first or seeing the reaction and the way it spread when it was first announced. It sends chills through you when when it starts to sink in. It's an unnatural feeling, and it's very unsettling.
the entire feed is still full of Kyle Busch news. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
I didn't think I had that many sources on Facebook until I saw that. That's what was I think it's what caught my attention was the fact that I didn't think I had was subscribed to that many news outlets, and there was like 50 of them that I went through and still couldn't believe I was finding more.
Just never expect something like this, and then
Yeah.
I know it. Like everybody is already like, I've already heard that the man took his own life, and this is sad that it's come to this.
That people
That
are
that
answering
people
that,
say
yeah.
this, and I don't want to say that again because I don't want people to believe that it's true. But it's sad the crap that we're hearing already, and it just pisses me off when I see stuff like that because you don't know, you have no idea, and I don't think he would ever do anything like that, anyways. But it's none of our business. The details. It just sucks that it's it's true. It sucks that it's true. I mean, we
I
never thought that.
I do want to give I'm going to reference Eric Estep from Out of the Groove with this one. he had mentioned something about how, he knew a ton of people who were there when Dale Sr. died. I know some people who were around and, weren't at the race, but they experienced the kind of ripple effect that the world went through when they lost Dale Sr. And, comparing what people have told me from that day to kind of what we're experiencing now, I think Eric has a very good point that it seems so similar. Like it almost felt like the world stopped turning when Dale Sr. passed away. Like time stood still. This is kind of what I feel like is going on right now. Is the whole world is like in shock. I mean, back then they lost their Superman. You know,
I mean,
Kevin,
the
that's
only
not entirely true. It went from 3 to 29, and then the 4, and the 8 was something different. The 8 was not. Um, the 29, the 8 are different.
I think he's just referring to the car number. The three, yes, Kevin. The three went to the 29 because Richard. Oh, I forget what exactly. He did an interview about this. I think he told his guy to change everything on the car that was black to white and everything on the car that was white to black. Find the next available number from NASCAR. He didn't care what it was, and that was the number they gave him was the 29,
Yeah.
and it went from there. I uh the 8 didn't come around until Reddick actually was driving for RCR, and I think it was just because DEI let the number go back to NASCAR, and then that's what NASCAR gave him. But I
Yeah.
also think that Childress took it on because he wanted Junior to come drive for him. That's my opinion. Nobody's ever stated that. Neither has Richard Childress himself. But that's just always been my opinion that he snatched the
It
number 8,
also went
hoping
from.
to pull Junior into his team. But
I
instead,
think it
Junior
went
went to
from.
Hendrick.
I think it went from the 18. Well, the 8 for RCR, I don't think actually came around until way later on. I don't remember. I don't remember the 8 ever being part of RCR until way later on. But if I'm not mistaken, it went from the 18 to the 8 because all these fans had the 1 8 on their arm, so it made it easier to go from, you know, instead of changing the number completely, they just take the 1 off. At least that's what I understood from it. I misunderstood what was being communicated there, Kevin. So I apologize for that. Um,
I know, and that's kind of the same reason. Like when Junior went to Hendrick, it went to 88, is
yeah,
because obviously
that's what I was saying. Yeah,
DEI wasn't going to let the number follow him the way Teresa was being. So, but once DEI Ganassi shut down, all those numbers went back to NASCAR except for the one because Trackhouse kept the one. That was because they kept Ross Chastain in the car, so they kept the number. But that's also why they have to put that stupid little line through the number because of the font. Um, what do you call it? Uh, Copyright, whatever.
yeah.
And
I mean,
you know,
just sitting here scrolling through. I went to share our feed, and another news source is sharing it. I've seen CBS. I've seen
oh
all
yeah,
three of our local news stations have done a tribute so far. I mean, it just keeps
ESPN did one.
going. Yeah, ESPN's doing one. I see CBS Evening News.
Actually, I think
Um,
ESPN did two of them. One with two different, or yeah, two of them with two different people. But no, yeah,
it's
but to finalize that number 8 thing, like I was saying, that wasn't an actual car on the track for RCR until Reddick came to the team because it had that old school like jersey kind of 8 font when Reddick was driving it, and then they kind of changed it up a little bit to be like reminds me of like an Oreo cookie font with Kyle Busch when he joined the team. So, but either way, a legend in his own making or of his own making. Nobody did it for him, in my opinion. Nobody put him at the level that he was at except himself, and
I
rightfully
do remember
so.
that. It was the Lamar Jackson thing. I did hear about that, I think. That might have been the junior thing or the junior motorsports thing, but I think I did hear about that.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was commenting or was reacting to the Jason thing.
see you later,
I
Kevin.
like that, Kev. I like that, Kevin. Thank you for joining us tonight. Not exactly an episode we wanted to have, but thank you for being here.
In the, in the coming days, I will probably put a tribute episode together. Nothing that I will have anybody joining for. It'll be a straight up memorial episode, and that's what it'll be. So something I enjoy to do, but
What's up, Aaron? Uh,
definitely something that we didn't expect to be doing, especially this year. I mean, I was really expecting to see him fulfill those plans that he had mentioned a few years back about being able
to
to
race
race
with his
against his
son.
son,
Yeah.
and that's what really hurts me inside as a father, knowing that his son and him will never have the opportunity to make those memories together. On the big tracks. I mean, I know they've done it in the outlaw carts and stuff like that, which is an awesome thing to see. But unfortunately, sometimes things come to an end too soon, and it just shows you, like everyone else has said, it shows you how precious life is. Never take it for granted, and always take advantage of those opportunities to make each other happy, whether it be your children or your spouses or anyone else in your family, and always take advantage of the opportunity to make memories, long lasting, loving memories, because one day that's all you're going to have left.
I I'm going to share Josh. I made that reference earlier tonight, and I'm glad that somebody else is feeling the same way about that. I don't want this episode to feel completely sad. So, and that might be just because of my autism. So I'm going to try to cheer this up a little bit and make this
That's why
not so
I'm talking the
sad.
way I'm talking.
Um,
I try to keep it a little bit up and up,
yeah.
you know.
So
I mean,
I
not
want to
that I'm
know,
happy,
Russ.
but
I want to know, Russ. What was your favorite Kyle Busch either memory or highlight? For I mean, I know you're a Kevin Harvick fan, so that's kind of hard. But I want to know what was your favorite Kevin or favorite Kyle Busch highlight or memory from his years in racing that you can think of.
being honest, man, it's hard to pinpoint one. I could tell you,
I will tell you, I'm in the
I'll tell
same
you
boat as I'm
multiple
trying to
things.
rattle it off. Well, let's hear. I want to
Um,
hear yours.
one of my favorite ones though was the car tomorrow. The first race at
I
Bristol
knew you were
when
going with this. I knew
and
it.
that car absolutely sucked, and Kyle said it straight up in the interview because he won that race at Bristol,
I
and he was like,
remember watching that.
I can't stand to drive these things, they suck. And NASCAR hit him with a fine the very next day, which was total horse shit. But that's NASCAR for you. And I, to be honest with you, I really liked it, even though it was kind of rude and he was kind of mean. And but every driver does it. I don't care what you say. The raw emotion that he showed during the races on the radios. I mean, the time he was sitting on pit road flipping off the official when they made him park and then they made him come back again. I mean that.
Stop it, Kyle. You're hurting the whole team. I remember that radio transmission.
I mean, I enjoy the fact that he didn't. What do you want to say? Hide himself just because NASCAR didn't want to hear it or anybody else didn't want to hear it. Kyle was who he was, and kind of like me, either take it or leave it, and he didn't give a shit. And
Yeah,
that's what I like most about him, to be honest with you.
so I I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I'm trying to pinpoint my favorite Kyle Busch memory. I gotta say the whole Chicagoland highlight from I think the last time they were at Chicagoland, which we go back there for the first time in how many years. I think the highlight from yeah, you're right, Jason. He had no filters. I think my favorite highlight was from if you didn't like that style of racing, don't even watch. And then the whole crying thing, that one definitely stuck with me. You know, so many good radio or so many good sound bites from Kyle Busch. I think the greatest soundbite, and I guarantee Joey Logano, if he hasn't already shared this memory, I'm sure a lot of people will remember it. The whole Kyle Busch versus Joey Logano at Phoenix. Everything's great. So happy about my M&M's Toyota Camry this week. Everything's great. Like channeling his inner
That was good
Marshawn
too.
Lynch. That was a good one, and I'm just here so I don't get fined. That was, you know, that
That
might
one
have
was
been the
kind of I found that
greatest.
one kind of petty, but
But
the
I
one
mean,
it was the one I liked the most,
Kyle
and
had no filter.
like everything's great. I'm just looking forward to get back in my car. I loved that one because they tried to get a bullshit reaction out of him that they weren't going to get, and I don't blame
The
him a bit for
PR
doing
guy
that.
had him set up. I think that NASCAR literally had a video on their page about the greatest, pit road interviews. And Kyle reacted to it and goes, "That was a scripted PR speech."
I
They
bet
said,
it
"Don't talk about
was.
anything." And whoever his PR guy was for that needed a raise because that was probably the greatest. There was a lot of Kyle Busch sound bites, and I think that was yeah. Kyle Busch never ended up winning a 500, which he came so close so many years, and that's one of those moments that's just wild.
He did. He did win the Brickyard twice, so
He did.
that's
I'll
cool.
give him that. That makes up for it. I
At
think
least
he
he
won the
got that.
600 once, didn't he? He's won
Yes, he
almost
did.
every crown jewel
I
except for Daytona.
was it 18, 17 or 18 he won the 600 or
I
and
thought
he
it
won an
was
all-star race
17.
too, didn't he?
He definitely won an All Star race. I know that. I would. I mean, he had to have won an All Star race at some point. Um, I think actually, I think one of the memories that really sticks with me. Now, granted, I am a Gordon fan, so this still kind of stings. But that whole 2015 year was just you cannot script the season better than that. He gets hurt in Daytona. He doesn't show up until Sonoma at a road course when he had essentially two broken legs. He was messed up. And he shows up at the one track or the one style of track that nobody thinks he's going to be able to overcome. And what does he do? He comes back in full bore, full tilt, wins the race at Sonoma, and after missing a third of the season, he comes back all the way to win the championship. You weren't keeping Kyle Busch down that year. Yes, I am still sad that Jeff Gordon couldn't go out on a high note, but then again, I think a better feel good story was the year that Kyle Busch had and won the championship, his first championship, and I think that'll forever be one of the greatest seasons I think we will ever see in I hate to say it, which I mean, I guess I don't really, but it does trump the whole Kyle Larson 10-win season. Because Kyle ran every race. Kyle Busch did not and still won the championship. So I just,
Up in the air. I've always been up in the air about that season. Not to take anything away from Kyle, but how he missed so much of the season and they gave him a waiver.
I mean, he still
But
made
I
up
mean,
for
he
it when performance.
exactly. I mean, and I will give him that credit that he came back in dominant fashion, like
And
he
the
had
Indy
something to
rule was
prove.
not a thing at the time. Let's
And
keep that in mind.
that's the only other thing that really sucks to me about this whole situation is like I said, not a really huge cowboy. I didn't hate him. Like I said, I didn't hate him. Not a huge fan of him. But I was actually really hoping to see him one day attempt the double, and I really wanted to see it happen with him and Larson both in the doing it at the same time. That would have been really cool because I know Bush was interested in it, and the team that let Larson do it last year was actually the team that Bush was talking with about doing it.
Yeah, Jason, you did bring up a very valid point, and I kind of forgot about that. We may need to look into changing our intro for this podcast because I hadn't thought about that until just now. We do have the whole Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch interaction in our video, so that we may need to fix that. Thank you for bringing that up. We need to get a new one in general, but that's probably a good reason to get rid of it.
Actually been looking for somebody to update the intro video for me, but the original person just can't do it anymore. They're really busy, and he actually put a lot of time into that. So um,
Yeah.
I would love to have a new intro video, but still keep our same music and maybe keep some of the clips that are in it, like the clip of the flagman at the opening, since obviously that was put in there because I was a flagman, and the guy at the end right before the title comes on, raising his hands in victory lane. I'd like to keep that part of it, but I'm sure someone
Yeah.
could throw something together. But
But I want to thank everyone who has joined in on this episode. This is probably the most interaction I have ever seen on any of our videos. I know this is not a normal episode for us, and normally we're not this somber. And given the circumstances, I greatly appreciate everybody who's been here for this episode. It has brought a little bit more positivity to a very somber episode. I was not wanting to do this episode, but I knew that it needed done. So for the 16 people on YouTube and the 3 on Facebook, thank you for joining us tonight. It really means a lot that it's not just us two on the episode and then everybody views it later. That people are here to kind of mourn with us. So again, I thank everybody for being here, and at least hopefully it makes everything you know we can come together as a NASCAR community or a racing community and just kind of mourn together. I know that there were a lot of fans who didn't like Kyle, but for the fans of Kyle, I feel like it means a lot to them that we all are here. I wasn't
that's
a real big fan of him, but it's still, he did make an impact, and you know, me in my racing, or not in my race, but in my race viewership, you always wanted to see the bad boy come back, and obviously he was a bushwhacker for the longest time, but at the same time, it gave the people in the sport now to, you know, strive towards. I mean, he still went out basically on top with the truck series. I mean, he won this past Friday. That's still just absolutely baffling that all of
he'll always
this came
he'll
together.
always be he'll always be one of the top drivers. I mean, he's got over all three series, total 234 victories. I mean, it's going to be very hard to ever even beat that.
He was the
Um,
OG Carson Hocevar. I think that's the funniest part about that is Carson wasn't even the first one to do that burnout. Kyle Busch did it first, and that's why it
but
was funny.
I didn't even realize that Bush did that hanging out the window.
He almost got thrown out of the truck when he did it because he tried doing burnouts. I
So,
mean,
but
I,
I'm not.
I,
I don't like LeBron
I don't
James,
know.
but
I don't. I
wouldn't
can't
bother me a
attest to
bit.
basketball, but that I mean that's we made the reference earlier about Kyle Busch and Dale Senior. So I feel like that would be a similar comparison for a different sport. So
If you weren't around for the passing of Dale Senior, the only difference between or this situation and that situation was the fact that we lost Dale on track and Kyle we lost from hospitalization off track.
during a season,
That is
though,
the only difference that I am seeing and experiencing between these two different situations.
yeah, that's really the only difference I
I
see. Is
mean,
one was off track, one was on track. They
but
were
the
both current drivers.
but the feeling and the emotions that you see and hear are absolutely the same. The atmosphere at the track this weekend is, I guarantee, is going to be the same because it's not the fact on how we lost them. It's just the fact that we did, and it sucks. But I wouldn't want us to stop for him, just like Dale wouldn't.
I don't even think Kyle would. I think Kyle would be wanting us to celebrate him after the 600. I mean, I'm sure he's won the 600. I can't tell you what it was off the top of my head, but Kyle has had success at Charlotte before. He was supposed to be racing the truck this weekend. They have Corey Day in the 7 truck this weekend. Honestly, if Corey Day wins this truck series race, it won't make it 100% better, but it'll still make it feel a little better, I think. I can't, say that a guarantee because obviously, we don't know if he will. But if Corey Day does win this race this weekend, I feel like it will bring some sort of healing. I mean, 2001 was a magical season. I really think that, you know, if Corey Day wins this race, it'll make it better. 2001 was magical. I'm wondering if the rest of 2026 will have some sort of just you know incredible feats. I know we started off the year with Dale and had a crazy season with lots of memorable highlights. I'm hoping that you know something like that happens because we need something good. I
Need to
did
go.
see that. I did see Austin Hill was in the 8. I really am not a big Austin Hill fan, but for the sake of RCR, I don't want to pick him to win, but I certainly hope he wins, just because they need something.
I look for Hill to probably just be in that car the rest of the season. I know there's already a lot of speculation too on, oh, do we do what we did with the 8 or do with the 8 that we did with the 3, change the car number? Uh, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not really opinionated on it. I mean, if they choose to do so, hey, that's great for them. If they don't, I mean, it doesn't bother me either way. But if they do choose to do so, I hope that NASCAR would allow them to carry points on with that team, no matter the car number, because of the situation. I wouldn't want to see it happen like, oh, well, we want to change car number in the middle of the year, so let us have our points. But because of the situation, I would like to see them allowed to do that if they so choose.
Thank you, corn. I think it's cornbread. Thank you for bringing that stat because I didn't know that. So thank you for sharing that.
But that goes to my next point is this is twice now for RCR to lose an active driver. And how much more can Richard Childress and that organization actually take? I mean, not to be
I
mean,
think
but they're not the top organization that they used to be with Dale Sr. So I mean, it's tough to
RCR
see
was
an
supposed to
outlook.
be racing the Cletus race this. I think it was this weekend, and
But it's
I kind of hope that Richard pulls out of that race just because.
well, Hendrick
Hey, I
has
don't
it.
think he's going to be in that. I don't think he's going to be in the right state of mind to be racing that Cletus race.
Hendrick has actually canceled their normal fan fest that they have at the start of this weekend every year. They canceled that in light of the situation.
Richard
Um,
or
I,
not? Uh, Roush Fenway has done the same. Also, I did see that.
I mean, I hate to see that for all the fans that were looking forward to that, but I also understand why they did it. The I know that Hendrick has said their shop will remain open for visitors, but the fan fest portion itself is canceled. So unfortunate, but also understandable. And maybe they can make that up sometime later in the year for those people or whatnot. But um, everybody that was supposed to go to that, please be understanding and respect that fact. This is a very tough time, so um, please don't bash online. I mean, that's one of the worst things you can do. I hate seeing that. Um, I've been subject to it, and I've subjected myself to it in the past. So, learned a lot of lessons, from both sides of that. So that's why I hate it. But oh my goodness, man, this organization, with this happening twice now, it's hard to see a very bright future for this organization, especially at the age of Childress himself. And, you know, who's going to take over this organization in the next, you know, 3 to 5 years? I mean, here's what they're gonna bring in. I mean, and I know what Junior was just talking not long ago, telling them, no, don't fire Kyle Busch, don't fire Kyle Busch. I don't think that they ever had any intentions on letting Kyle Busch ever go because of his popularity and his
Yeah.
style was, you know, what Childress was actually looking for. I think
I
they were more afraid, in my opinion, of Kyle leaving and not renewing a contract than they were about them firing him. So
honestly, I I see Jason's comment in here, and I want to touch on it. The whole thought of RCR buying out Ty Dillon's contract from Colleague to put Ty in the eight. I really think they should just I, with the circumstances they did with Dale to Kyle or Dale to Kevin. I don't feel like it's right to run the eight with a different car throughout the rest of the season. I would love to think they'd change, the number and say in the event that, they can't keep the points. I just read that he's 24th in points. It's not really a great season. I'd almost
but
want to call it a rebuilding year.
he's 24th in driver points. You got to remember that. Where
Yeah.
are they in owners points?
That's what I will look at right now is I don't think it's much better. Um, I did see a post on Facebook while I was looking through this, and somebody had made the comment that we have lost two Hall of Famers, and they both drove the number 18. I know that you might not know this, Russ, but Jason might have picked up on it. That we lost Kyle Busch, who drove the 18, and I believe Scott Bloomquist was also in the number 18 at one point. And then there was a picture of the M&M's late model, and then the Scott Bloomquist late model, which is
I saw that one.
kind of crazy to me. I'm looking to see where he is in owners points. Still scroll. He is 24th in owners points also. Because Richard, or the three car is 22nd in owners points, and the eight car is 24th in owners points, and it's the same thing in driver points.
Either way they decide to go, I respect their decision.
I do.
Just
I
just
do
like I
also.
just like it did back then, it's completely their choice. But like Dale Jr. said, when someone asked him about them retiring his dad's number, Jr. was actually against it. I mean, he didn't like rally, oh, we need to keep it. He was just he didn't really care, but he was against completely doing away with it. And he said, these are just like banks that we deposit history into. I remember him saying that on the Dale Jr. download, and he was basically saying, the numbers weren't car numbers are just car numbers. They're not meant to be retired. We're just part of the history that we deposit into that. You know, and he's got a point. I like the way that he put that. That okay, when we look at this car, we're gonna remember this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And it was amazing the perspective that he put it into. So you know, whether they choose to keep it going or they don't, much respect to them for just keeping going altogether. I mean, they could just say the hell with it and shut down and be done with it and walk away. But to actually keep going and pushing forward, that just takes so much in itself that it's unbelievable. So you
I
still spelled it
am.
wrong, Jason. You spelled it wrong again.
I do see. I saw that even the Biffle family put out a statement, which is that's crazy to me that you know you know paying respect to each other is it's definitely interesting. Yeah, I see Trackhouse has canceled their fan day for tomorrow, or autographs for fan day. Uh, you know, Hendrick is canceled. Now these are just ones I'm seeing right now. I
Well, a good thing that we got out of this news today was that at least we didn't lose an entire family this time. I'm not saying, please don't think that I'm saying it's good news that Kyle's gone. I am absolutely not. It is tragic and it sucks. He was a great person for the sport, but at least it wasn't an entire family. At least there's somebody to carry his legacy on.
I just it still doesn't. It's just, even though we've talked about it for almost an hour now, it still doesn't feel real. Yeah, Kyle was supposed to race tomorrow. Corey Day is now in the truck. Um, I don't know if they don't know if Kyle was going to race any more O'Reilly races at all. But I know that he was scheduled to be in the truck tomorrow. As of this morning, they said that Corey Day was going to be in the truck, and then we found out about the passing of Kyle, and I haven't really seen anything since. I haven't really thought about that. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Duque Chronic. Yeah, and Lennox. That was going to be the other part I was going to
So,
add about.
too.
I know it's late. Thank you everybody for still being here. I mean, we're up to 33 people now, which is absolutely wild to me. I don't think I've ever seen numbers like this on our page ever. So thank you to the
Oh,
NASCAR community and Switching Groove
absolutely.
followers for tuning in tonight, joining us to kind of pay our respects. I thank everybody who's been in Duke, Duke. Oh, Duke.
Please tell
Okay, Duke Chronic. Okay. Um,
please tell us your favorite Bush moments, memories. I mean, interact all that you want. I mean,
yeah,
we want to hear everything that you've got to say, whether you liked him or you didn't. You know, this is how we keep his legacy going,
yeah.
and it's great to
I,
see.
I definitely want to thank everybody who has been a part of this episode, who's, talked with us in the comments, who has joined in with us, who's come seen us at the track and, talked racing with us. It makes it feel like a community, and it makes us, in moments like this, it makes it a little easier to, you know, not be so sad because you know that you're supported. Um, right now, I'm at a loss for words. I don't even know how to express my emotions of what I'm feeling right now. But I want to thank everyone who has been a part of this episode, who's made this feel not so sad. So um, I think I'm going to sign off for the night and try to get my emotions in check for tomorrow. I know Russ is very tired. I woke him up for this. So with Switching Grooves, I'm Nathan Johns.
Remember us, Fritz, guys. Just to close out, I'll just say this: if a husband, a father, a legend, gone
A
too
brother.
soon. Um, Gone too soon is a father who cared about everything and anything and everything when it came to his kids and his wife, being a husband. Um, One we shouldn't have lost. We lost too soon. And with that said, I'll sign it off with one of the best to ever sit behind the wheel of a race car and strap those belts down tight. Kyle Busch is 41 years old.